Hello there, friends and fellow Star Wars fans. You know, every now and then a project comes along that changes the heights that we think can be reached, even if those heights are the tip top of the mountain. For me, Star Wars Visions was that project. It expanded the Force and a galaxy far, far away in ways that I just never thought that I'd see. The separation in style mixed with the standalone best of the best projects make for some brilliant storytelling and a completely unique viewing experience. And so as you'd probably assume, I've been very much looking forward to season 2, and it's finally here. 9 new episodes and 9 new stories. Let's dive in. What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Jones Vibes. If you're new to my channel, I talk about all things movies and television, but I don't talk about exercising because I have phasma.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
But Star Wars Visions Season 2 is here, and so I thought it would be a fun idea to rank these episodes. And now, I had this idea before I watched the season, and so while I was watching it, it was kind of stressing me out because every episode was so damn good. And so I'm just gonna try to do my best here, guys. Each studio was extremely unique, just like the first season. And this was a joy to check out, but I'm gonna get going pretty quick here because I don't really have much else to say. So, in the 9th spot, I'm going with The Pit. It was a very creative episode. Funny enough, I was getting Dark Knight Rises vibes with them like trying to get out of this pit. And the stakes were real, like dude climbs out and goes for help and then is tossed back into his death. I kept expecting them to like revive him or something, but no. But there was such little dialogue that I just found myself wanting maybe a bit more to connect to. Still a good episode though, but moving on to number 8 in my rank, I'm curious to know what y'all thought about this one. The Spy Dancer. I liked the rebel plotting that was going on here. Once again, these are just the things that expand the boundaries of Star Wars. But it ended up being the main character's son, and I was like, what? And then this guy goes back to the Empire, but with a piece of him forever changed. The fact that the Empire had hid an entire life from him and took him from his true family was just so sad. And I will say that this was another one of those Visions episodes that felt like the culmination of like a 2-season series, and this was the final episode, but they did it in like 15 minutes. It's crazy, and I don't know how they do it. But moving on to number 7, I Am Your Mother. And look, I grew up a fan of Wallace and Gromit, and so this was a pretty special one. They managed to put a lot of heart into the story, which is very familiar with their style of storytelling. You had the angsty youngster that's embarrassed by her mom, but their bond strengthens by working together. And the only real negative I would have to say about this episode is that it just wasn't as exciting as the others. And the emotion within the storytelling wasn't like overbearing and I wasn't like blown away. So, I mean, it ended up just kind of being like a middle of the road episode, but I still loved it. But then on to number 6, Journey to the Dark Head. And this episode was interesting. It's probably the most complex story-wise. And although I loved the action, this was a situation where I just needed way more time with these characters. And that's a good thing because I liked these characters a lot. And I loved kind of the principal story. The young Jedi battling the Sith who killed his master and is trying to turn him. He's battling good and evil, and there's this message of duality, not the Slipknot song. And this Sith master is doing everything he can to influence the situation and stop them from achieving their goal. And the dude is like, no thanks. But the action was so dope, and I could watch that Sith dude with like the whip tail or whatever that was all day. But moving on, we're going to number 5, and that for me is Screecher's Reach. And this was really short and to the point, but it was easily the darkest and most dramatic episode that we got in this entire season. And it has a really curious kind of story to try and decipher. This young girl goes into Screecher's Reach and literally battles a demon with a lightsaber. And when she defeats her and walks outside, a voice on her amulet rings out and says, "It's time for them to meet." And I was like, what? Time for who to meet who? And this Sith master comes down out of their ship. And the thing that got me is you can see how disappointed and confused her little friends are. I don't know if those are her siblings or just her friends. I didn't really understand that, but they were so sad to not only see her leaving, but probably to see her leaving with a Sith, because those principal morals that we all have of good and evil, I'm sure those were kind of raising a red flag and all of them. Like, I don't know if this is the best person or entity for you to be going with. It's not just the type of story where like the good guys win and, you know, everybody goes off into a happy life. It's kind of like, I wonder what's gonna happen here. But moving on to number 4 in my rank, In the Stars. And my reasoning for loving this episode so much is kind of based off of nostalgia. If you know me and my channel, you'll know that I'm a massive fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and this episode reminded me of that Painted Lady episode in season 3, where Katara is dressing up as like the Painted Lady and they end up freeing that town from the Fire Nation. Honestly, I love and appreciate a good old-fashioned standing up to the man story. And in this story, you have these 2 sisters who look up to the stars, to their mom, and all of their people who the Empire have wiped out. And where their mom stood her ground and perished, they stood their ground and won. It was just good and beautiful. Something about the animation style really had a big impact on me. I don't really have much else to say. It was powerful. But down to the top 3. My number 3 is the Bandits of Gulak. And the subtle details mixed with the rich culture just made this a very unique Star Wars experience. I've never seen anything like this. There was that Sith dude with the Inquisitor type lightsaber that was like spinning, and then once again you have this young Force user that has to leave her brother in the end for the betterment of the Force and for the galaxy. I just loved it, showcasing that protective nature of siblings, you know, the older brother and the younger sister, and just that clear, raw emotion. It had this kind of sad and happy ending, and once again, just the creative style of this entire episode, it blew my mind. But moving on to number 2, I'm going with the first episode of the season, and it's called Sith. And this was just clearly the most artistic episode because the main character was an artist, but beyond that, just the style was breathtaking. Every single frame was so encapturing, and what a way to start out the season. Like, after this episode, I was absolutely hyped. You have this artist trying to balance dark and light within her art projects, and through battling her former master, she ends up having to use both to defeat him. And honestly, just the design of the Sith Master guy was freaking incredible. I'd love to see that guy in live action somehow, some way. It just makes you curious and excited for the future movies if they could ever do something just like that. All we want to see is just some badass dude with a red lightsaber and like a cool freaking mask. And yeah, every frame was interesting to look at, and it was just such a cool and fun and unique world to be in. But guys, we have reached number 1. And I have a feeling that none of you have the same number 1 as me. Maybe somebody out there does, I don't know, but it really resonated with me. My number 1 is Ayu's song. Some of you might know that I am a singer-songwriter, and music is just a huge part of my life. And so the way that this episode starts out with her singing this tone that resonates with the Force and calling forth the Kyber crystal that's in this planet, it just blew me away. The animation style was refreshing. It was stop motion, kind of like a Leica Animation Studios project, or kind of looked like Gumby or something. But the mixture of music and then the father-daughter relationship made for a very heartfelt story that, like I said, resonated with me on a very deep level. And just like a few of the other episodes, and I've already mentioned, she ends up leaving with a Jedi, very similarly to the others. And I think it's just seeing her waving goodbye to her dad, who cares so much about her, that got me. But this season as a whole was so dope. The themes really came through for me. I'd say a majority of it was just breaking free from the Empire and overcoming obstacles, but the others would have to be letting go. Some of the characters had to let go of their past, and others had to step into their future. Overall, it was a really nice experience, and I'm so excited for season 3. It can't come soon enough. But I wasn't too specific on all the animation studios, but I do just want to give a shout out to all of them. You can look them up for each episode. I'm a big fan of the arts, and everything that it takes to even make just a 15-minute episode like this is insane. But anyway, yeah, that's it for my rank, but I would love to know yours. Please leave a comment down below with it, as well as just give me your thoughts on Star Wars Visions Season 2. I would love to hear from you. If you stuck with me this far, please hit the like button. I'd appreciate the support. And also, I'd love to see you come back, so hit subscribe because there is a lot more content on the way. But Star Wars Visions continues to be one of Disney Lucasfilm's best ideas. And will that continue in Season 3? I guess we'll see.
Jones vibes.